Greetings, internet friends and friends of the fans of the solar eclipse. I know we had a little weather fun today, a little astronomy fun today. Let's have some sports fun today. We're still getting used to this. This is week 2 of our great foray. Let's throw a graphic in here. Okay. I hit play. There you go. That's me. I'm Dave.
Hey, Dave. I'm not Dave.
No, you're Eric.
I'm Eric.
Now they can see.
There we go.
So let's talk first about the Wisconsin teams and how they fared over the weekend. Would you like to start with the Brewers or the Bucks?
Yeah, I think we got to talk about the Brewers first.
Okay.
Let's talk about the team that's winning. The Brewers, obviously, coming out, get hit. Definitely, the bats coming to life yesterday, putting up 12 runs against the Seattle team after a walk-off, literally a walk-off win on Friday. But I mean, you have to really like where the Brewers are at right now at this point in the season. It's early, very early in the Pat Murphy era, but everybody's really contributing. Yesterday they get a multi-home run day from William Contreras, 5 RBIs career high. It seems like they're getting contributions from everybody right now.
Yeah, the Brewers off to that hot start. Craig Counsell's Cubs off to a slower start, but now they're just a half game back of the Brewers. But the Pirates picked last in the division. They're 8-2 right now, a full game ahead of the Brewers, who are 6-2 at this point. Of course, it's very early in a 162-game season, but it is very impressive nonetheless to see the start that the Brewers are off to.
Yeah, and doing it in right now the best division in baseball. Every team in the NL Central is either 500 or better. Big stretch up for the Brewers. 14 in the next 17 games on the road, including 3 series against division foes, starting tonight with the Reds.
Reds tonight is a 4-game series that starts at like 5:40, I believe. On the flip side of that coin, Milwaukee's Bucks are riding the struggle bus right now.
No, they're not only riding it, I think they're driving it. 4-game losing streak. Last night, I mean, you lose to the Knicks, they're a team that's in the playoffs, so I guess maybe you feel a little bit better, but I mean, Doc Rivers said he really didn't know what happened after halftime.
It's not good for your coach to say that.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. There's something that Doc has said that's not necessarily making him or the team look good, but not knowing what happened when they go in the locker room with an 11-point lead, and they came out and got outscored 20-6 right off the bat in the third quarter, and they had no answer for the Knicks at all. 43 points from Jalen Brunson.
So you mentioned the Knicks aren't slouches, but the 3 previous games that they lost during this skid are to teams that are, I think, a combined like 90 games under 500. They lost to terrible Toronto, no good Memphis. Who was the other bad team they lost to in that stretch?
They lost to the Wizards.
The Wizards as well. They're the worst. They had 14 wins before they beat the Bucks last week. And these Bucks have lost 6 of 7 and 4 straight at home. 4 straight at home. Our friend Mike Lemons tweeting out that's the first time that's happened for the Bucks since 1981.
That's a bad stretch. And
no.
Something you got to get turned around. There's only 2 home games left. And starting tomorrow night with the Celtics, and then a big one on Wednesday, which will be on our sub-channel 2.3 against the Magic.
Yep, and then the Thunder on WBAY proper on ABC on Friday. They're not trending the right direction at the worst possible time. Right now the Bucks still hold a 1-game lead for the 2nd seed in the East, but they're just 2.5 games better than 6th place Indiana. The Bucks could be home for every series with the advantage until they get to the Eastern Finals, or they could be going on the road right away and facing a very, very uphill battle. Yeah. The chemistry with this team's a little wonky. I've seen some stats out there. When you've got the big 3 of Giannis, Chris Middleton, Damian Lillard on the floor at the same time, they're one of the best lineups in the entire NBA. But the problem is they haven't played together very much at all, and the total minutes for that is astonishing.
And that's the one thing from last night's game. Remember, Chris Middleton only had 5 points in that game, but he got popped in the mouth and left for mouth trauma, I think was the technical term.
When you lose a tooth, how quickly is he going to play tomorrow? Is he going to play? I don't know. If I got a tooth knocked out of my head, I don't know how quickly I'd be ready to return. But Giannis, Damon, Chris, a plus 17.1 net as a trio, but they played just 731 minutes in 41 games together this season. And with Doc, get this, they've just played 4 games together with Doc Rivers, who now has a losing record as the Bucks head coach, in 85 minutes together. That's not what you want going into the playoffs. And if things go the way they did last year with a first-round flameout, could the Bucks have a 4th coach in 3 years' time by the time next year starts? And could they be paying 4 coaches? It could happen.
That's the thing, paying 4 coaches, because, I mean, you are paying Mike Budenholzer. You are paying Adrian Griffin. Do you want to pay Doc Rivers?
I don't think you want to. But at the same time, if they flame out and Giannis says, I want a new coach, you either do what Giannis says or Giannis demands a trade. That's the NBA superstar life right now. You get what you want, and the Bucks want him. So hopefully they can put things together and not have to answer those questions, but it is not looking good right now. On the national scene, we've got the men's Final Four final tonight between UConn and Purdue, and yesterday the women's Final Four final. What a game, Iowa and South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa jumps out to that huge start right out at the beginning, but I mean, you just think about this for South Carolina. You lose 5 players to the WNBA draft.
Yeah.
And then go undefeated with the national championship, get revenge after losing to Iowa the year before, and then the leading scorer in yesterday's game was 19 points by Tessa Johnson off the bench. It wasn't even a starter. That's how you contradict somebody like a Caitlin Clark who scores 30, is you have 4 that score of like 14 or higher.
You said high leading scorer for the Gamecocks, 19. Caitlin Clark had 18 in the first quarter, but then they really put the clamps on her for much of the rest of the game. She still got hers, the 30 points that Eric mentioned, but she didn't have the 40. She didn't have the crazy triple-double. And really what stood out to me was just the tenacious drive of the Gamecocks. They were down 10-0. They were down 13-2. It didn't phase them. They came right back. And they are a great second-half team. This year they outscored opponents by 520 points in the second half. It's an amazing feat. Undefeated season for the Gamecocks. They get the national title. Caitlin Clark's off the WNBA, and perhaps the big 3 to make $5 million from Ice Cube to play 10 games of 3-on-3. I'd do that. The biggest WNBA salary last year, under $250,000. If you could get $5 million to play some 3-on-3 ball, I'd do that. Whether or not the Indiana Fever, who hold the top draft pick, like that or not. Tonight, what do you think of Purdue and UConn?
I mean, finally we get a matchup of true big men. It seems like it's a guards
throwback.
game as of late.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a throwback. You got 7'2" Donovan Clay versus 7'4" Zach Edey, and you saw what Zach Edey did. He's like a walking 20-10 right now, and they really neutralized the big men of North Carolina State on Saturday. Now we get to see what he gets to do when he goes up against somebody that's maybe not as big as him, but it's pretty close.
Full disclaimer, my mother, my sister, my brother-in-law all went to Purdue. I'd love to see the Boilers win. But Zach Edey's 7'4", and he is not strong on the ball. If he brings that ball down to his chest, everyone's raking at it. You saw NC State get a lot of steals against him. I don't think he has the physicality to match up. I want the Big Ten team to win, but UConn is an absolute juggernaut. I think they win by a dozen. They've won every game in the last 2 tournaments UConn has by at least 13 points. It was a close game against Bama the other night. They won by 14. Their toughest tests the last 2 years, last year's Final Four semi when they beat Miami by 13. I think you can hang with UConn for a while, but I don't think you're going to beat them. I think tonight's 8:20 tip will see Purdue hanging around till about 10 o'clock, but when it matters, I think UConn gets the repeat.
A big thing is Purdue's ability to shoot from the outside. If they can't shoot from the outside and it's all on Edey, UConn should win this game. But if they can hit from the outside, and we've seen Purdue do it.
Right.
But if you can frustrate Edey and frustrate him early, which is what the Badgers did in the Big Ten tournament, they kind of got him frustrated. They got a technical foul on him early, and they got in his head a little bit. It seemed like you can do that. You can neutralize him, and you can kind of do what you want inside. And that's what I think UConn will try and do.
UConn's got a great offense to contend with. Purdue's averaged, I believe, 80-plus this year, but they were held down by NC State in the semifinal. Purdue still won relatively easily in the end, but they're going to need to score a lot more than whatever 65 or 67 that they got the other day. Yeah. Thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. That's our check-in with sports today. I hope everyone enjoyed the solar eclipse, and we'll see you on Action 2 News at 4, 4:35, 6, and 10.